In coming here this evening, I thought it'd be good to tell you, the people who are driving real change for the better, for our future, a little bit about who I am and how I can use my new role as the Parliamentary Secretary for Climate Change and Energy Efficiency, which I've held for a whole 3 weeks now, to make a difference. As a person who left school at 15 years old, who put myself through night school when I was older, went back, did my senior, went to TAFE, went to university, studied for 14 years and ended up with a graduate diploma of legal practice and admitted as a legal practitioner, I certainly understand the importance of an education. In the debate about action on climate change and the shift in energy efficiency, I believe education is the key to the change. I believe we must continue to work and continue the work we've already started with our children in schools, educating them on these issues. We need to ensure that they not only understand the importance, but they get to contribute to the future of our community and the country in which they'll grow up in and raise their families. And there is no more urgent matter, environmentally or economically, than climate change. By putting the price on carbon, this government accepts the overwhelming view of the majority of climate scientists in the science that underpins climate change, that human industrial activity is changing the world in which we live. In addition, the Gillard Labor government is also creating opportunities in the land sector to cut pollution and improve productivity, sustainability and resilience, promoting innovation and investment in renewable energy, and encouraging energy efficiency, which is what we are focusing on at this summer study. Nationally, we have spent over 2 decades talking about the need for action. Part of the federal government's initiative over the last 5 years is trying to turn this action into a reality. On 1 July last year, we finally saw Australia take its first big steps towards a clean energy future. So where are we now? Well, we've come a long way since 1 July. We realised on 1 July that the sky didn't fall in. That in fact, yes, there were some price rises, as we said would occur, and that many households received assistance to support any increases in costs. But where does that leave us in this whole debate? And I think what people are wanting to know now is, was it all worth it? Are we making a difference? We accept that life continues on, our economy hasn't collapsed, but we want to know that it was all worth it, that it is actually making a difference. Businesses, from what I can see, are still playing catch up in their understanding of what this means to them. And this is where we all play a key part in not just answering what we've achieved in the last 6 months, but also how we can continue to drive change into the future. In this area, we have a lot of work to do. There are many businesses who have grasped the opportunities that go hand in hand with these historic reforms, but there are those who still do not understand those opportunities. Many businesses around this country have taken action to increase energy efficiency, not just for financial benefits that brings to their business, but also in their own words, it's because it's the right thing to do. Just today, the Minister for Climate Change and Energy Efficiency, Greg Combet, announced that the government will invest revenue from the carbon price to support Western Australia's Carnegie Wave Energy Limited in trialling a project to power desalination plants with wave technology. The world's first project will use the power of ocean waves to directly drive high-pressure desalination pumps at a pilot-scale desalination plant, substantially reducing emissions and electricity consumption. This investment through the Clean Technology Investment Program is $1.27 million, with the overall project being valued at $2.5 million. These are the sorts of reforms that we want to see in our country and that we need to see. At a household level, many people are still grappling with how practical, everyday changes in their lives can have a significant impact. On a much larger scale, one of our biggest failures in awareness is amongst the Australian people, where Australia sits internationally on action on climate change. Yes, in relation to overall emissions, we are a low emitter country, but on a per capita basis, we are the second largest emitter. We do have a responsibility to act. And as those of you in this room know, we certainly are not the first to do it. On this point, we are certainly heartened by the international community hearing the President of the United States, Barack Obama, in his State of Union address just a couple of weeks ago, calling on the Congress to come together and implement a market-based mechanism. And the President said, if they don't, he will. But of course, we also know that China is doing a huge amount of work. Their wind turbines, the investment now is that they're installing a third of the world's new wind turbines just last year. That wind energy in China now accounts for 5.3% of the country's generating capacity and supplies about 2% of its electricity, generating capacity and supplies and placing it behind coal and hydropower. Now, the thing is that we know that China's taking action. We've heard recently, there has been lots of media reports that China's now saying that it's going to pilot an emissions trading scheme across a number of its provinces, and it's now saying that it wants to implement a nationwide emission trading scheme by 2015. But aside from this, people have no idea that this is happening. The general person out in the street has no idea that China is taking action. They don't understand that we are not the first to take these steps, and we need to lift that awareness. I know in your sessions yesterday, you had one session called 4 Minutes of Fame, and you had to get up and try to present your issue within 4 minutes. So imagine how hard it is to explain what the Clean Energy Future Package is in a 5-second grab for the media, because that's what we have to do. Every single parliamentary sitting week, I walk out and front the media and I talk about the important things that we're doing, the major policy reforms we're doing, but it doesn't get reported. Every day I get someone going, so frustrating, why aren't you out talking about all the good things? Why aren't you out there explaining what's going on? And we cannot get it reported. And this is the challenge that we all face. Headlines such as, "Pasta no more likely to disappear than polar bears," by Bjorn Longberg from The Australian on the 6th of February this year. I mean, these are the sorts of things that we have to tackle. These are the challenges that we have to overcome. Because to make real change, we have to bring the community with us, but we need the community to understand where we stand globally, but what our responsibilities are domestically. Australia has already experienced reductions in emissions already in the electricity, manufacturing sectors and overall emissions in the first 6 months. However, businesses, councils, community groups and households need more awareness and support to bring about change. Although much assistance exists for innovative businesses to invest through federal government programs, businesses are still struggling with where to look and what will work for them, and most importantly, understanding the long-term benefits of taking action. So being appointed as the new Parliamentary Secretary for Climate Change and Energy Efficiency brings exciting opportunities for me to pursue these initiatives on behalf of the federal government under the Clean Energy Future Package. Those of you who are here tonight have had the opportunity to come together over the past 2 days and again tomorrow to look at some of the key issues surrounding energy efficiency and decentralised energy. I see my new role to be part of that next logical step in my service to my own community of Petrie and the wider Australian community. And just to explain my electorate of Petrie, outer northern Brisbane, Redcliffe Peninsula, for those of you who know the north side of Brisbane, Moreton Bay, very low-lying peninsula that would be completely underwater in the future if the predictions are accurate. It's getting that message across. But as I say to my constituents, you don't have to believe that the globe is warming. You do not have to believe that sea level rises are going up. You don't have to believe that it's man-made or natural. You just have to accept that we have a responsibility when it comes to pollution in our environment, and that we have to limit that pollution, we have to regulate it, and we have to take responsibility for it. Because it's our environment and our children's future and our grandchildren's future. And we have to step up and we have to take on responsibility. And I think now is the time, because we've got past the 1st of July. We've seen that we can introduce a carbon price in this country and still Businesses open their doors every day. People go to work every day. Kids keep going to school every day. Life continues on as normal. But we need to get them thinking more. And in Queensland, we are certainly seeing the effects of natural disasters. But they're not once in 100 years anymore. They're not once every 50 years or 20 years. Now we're seeing they're yearly. We're seeing whole towns go underwater every year. We're seeing real changes in our environment. In my area alone on the Australia Day weekend, we saw storm surges off the tail of a cyclone that we have never, ever seen in that area. And it took away whole footpaths and cycling paths, and it's created, tens of millions of dollars of community infrastructure damage. We are a coastal country. We came here, we built along the coastlines. It's a beautiful country. When we settled in our towns, we settled along waterways because we thought that was the smart thing to do, except those towns are now flooding. And we have to start thinking smarter about our future. When we rebuild these towns, do we just rebuild the same homes in the same places in the same way, or do we start adapting? Because we need to start taking responsibility. We need to start looking at mitigation. We need to start looking at adaptation, not just in our own country, our Pacific nations, our small island states. Globally, we have a responsibility and we have to step up and all work together. Internationally, I've said we're going a long way. And we've got very good standing internationally for what we are doing. But all that means is we have to see this through. We've done the hard yards, we bit the bullet, we've done it. No matter what the outcome is of any polls, I can tell you I will forever hold my head up high that I'm part of a government that did this. And I will go out there every day saying this is the right thing to do as a country, a right thing to do as Australian people. We can't afford to rip it up. We have to follow through with this. So I thank you for all the great work that you're doing. I want to congratulate all of the nominees and winners tonight because it is your innovations, it's your foresight, it is what you are doing that we're here celebrating and we want more of it. The Australian Summer Study presents an opportunity to recognise pioneers and unsung heroes in the clean energy sector. And I'd like to thank the Australian Alliance to Save Energy in hosting the second A2SE Energy All-Star Awards.